We just need to stop treating inclusive leadership as a soft skill. It should be a requirement. Don't reward leaders who get results if they do it at the cost of psychological safety, equal pay, or diverse team. I personally think inclusion needs to be part of performance reviews. Why should we be looking who gets promoted, who's staying, who's burning out? And we need to have the guts to say, if you're not helping others grow, you don't grow here either.
Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirkjan Hupkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, thanks for tuning in to episode 111 of Women Disrupting Tech. Today's guest knows what it means to be seen, but not always believed. She knows what it costs to constantly filter her words, scan the room, and play it safe. And she knows what happens when we treat inclusion like a side project instead of a leadership skill. Emily van Putten is a cybersecurity expert with almost 2 decades of experience in tech. She's also the co-founder of SheUnfolds, a foundation that creates space for women in tech to connect, recharge, and feel like they truly belong. And Emily is a transgender woman, which means that she has experienced the tech world from both sides of the gender divide. She's here to talk about what that taught her, about bias, visibility, and the power of showing up as our full self. In this episode, we also talk about the real reason that women leave tech, why inclusion has to be tied to power and pay, and how social media creates what Emily calls the digital closet. This is one of the most open and personal conversations that I've had on Women Disrupting Tech. And it's a reminder that belonging isn't just a buzzword, it's the thing that makes growth possible. So when you're ready to listen and learn how SheUnfolds creates the space where women in tech belong, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Emily van Putten. Hey, Emily van Putten. Good morning. Good to have you on Women Disrupting Tech. Question I always ask at the start is how you got into your current position, and for you, that's co-founder of SheUnfolds.
Yeah, it's a long story. I've been in tech for almost 2 decades right now. When specifically talking about SheUnfolds, it's a new foundation in which we try to basically connect women working in the industry, the IT industry, that are in some ways the only women in their teams or organizations. And a couple of months ago, we had this Women in IT Gala organized. And after this gala, we just noticed this shouldn't be a one thing a year event. So together with my partner, Megan, we founded SheUnfolds, and we now basically working to build this out. Besides the my current role as a cybersecurity expert in the industry.
Okay, that's cool. So how did you because you started with the Dutch Women in IT gala. Before that, I think that's also related to Femke Cornelissen, previous
Right.
guest. So how did you become an advocate for women in tech?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because I've been, as I said, long in this industry. During my transition, my gender transition, I noticed that that the culture within the sector is real masculine, and it's not inclusive for most women. And if you look at the numbers, they're troubling, because you see that 52% of women are leaving the IT industry in the first 10 years of their career compared to 70% of men. So I really want to help women working in the industry to stay there, to help them within their journeys from an expertise perspective, but also by connecting them to other women. Um, and I noticed myself that people are looking differently at you because of your gender. And that is what hurts me hard, because I think we need to create a culture that in which everyone, regardless of the boxes you're checking, is included.
Yeah. So talk to me about why women leave, because 52% leaving in the first 10 years is like really staggering.
Yeah,
Why
it's
is that
mm.
happening? There's a masculine culture. What happens as a result?
Yeah, what happens as a result? But we have a lot of focus these days on getting more women within IT. But from my perspective, not that much on retaining them, or not as much as needed.
Mhm.
I think the culture, as there are working a lot of men in the industry. I think it's about 80%. Um, there is an yeah the personal view of the or how people work together is really, and it's also it's in the IT industry. It's about making results. It's about yeah, you really need to be decisive, and it's not in most cases not appreciated if you're don't know right away. And women have a different kind a way of working together, and it just doesn't fit in many cases within the IT industry as it is currently. And if you are the only woman within a team, or perhaps the whole organization, then you don't have any role models in the organization that show you that you belong there and that you can be successful in this role. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do to get more women, retain them, and also allow them to grow in their roles. Because it's not only about junior, meteor-ish roles, but in the end also about leadership. That you can, as a woman within this within a technical role, can see that you are also capable of ultimately growing into such a leadership role,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah, really reaching the top level of an organization.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah.
So what goes wrong in terms of retention then? Because we do a lot in terms of getting women into IT. What goes wrong in the retention part of it? There's role models, as you said.
Yeah, there is role models. There's not much attention of the individual needs of women in general, from a health perspective, perhaps, or also about creating moments. Like you have in most organizations, you have the ordinary Frimibo, the
Yeah,
drink for Friday, and
Friday
in some
drinks. Yeah.
the Friday drinks, yeah. And in some cases, you also need to have a conversation with the people. So not
Mhm.
the, thinking for them, but getting in touch with the people having trouble staying in the organization, and listening to their needs. What do they need? And it's also about IT. Most of the people work there full time, so 40 hours a week. Well, if you look at the statistics in the Netherlands, you see that women, um, uh, most of them are not working full time.
No,
So when you leave out this group, they're not fitting to the role descriptions you have, because you need people for 40 hours a week. Those people, this talent pool is already left out. While they're capable of so much. And I have real often conversations about, is it really necessary to have all those roles 40 hours a week, or can they be fulfilled with less hours? And I think that is really a mirror that organizations need to look into in order to leverage this enormous group of people
Yeah.
that have great expertise but are left out just because they're not working 40 hours a week.
Yeah, and there, to your point of being left out, often they have the Friday off,
Yeah.
so then
And
no Friday drinks.
no Friday drinks, and you
And
missed
also,
the
there's a Friday drinks. I had an interview with a guest, I think early May, and she said, "Well, why? It's nice of the employers to pick up the drinks tab, but why don't they pick up the childcare tab then?"
yeah, and there are
Because
so much
if
okay,
that's also part of the facilitation thing, because to your point, I think it's also important in terms of hearing and making people belong is that actually help them attend company events.
yeah, and if you are missing those moments for gathering within your organization, yeah, you can feel alone. And why staying there if you don't feel connected to your coworkers? And there are so many examples of unpaid labor. Well, in unfortunately, in the current societal situation, women are mostly taken care of. Um, yeah, perhaps we as an organization, as employer, can have a look at all those tasks that
Mhm.
women are taking on, and see how we can help them to make it more attractive to start working, especially in IT. And if you look at other industries like healthcare, there are great examples of how you can do this. And also, if you look at how Scandinavian countries are doing this as more as an equal situation between men, women, instead of this enormous gap
Yeah.
we have in the Netherlands.
Okay. So there's part it's role models, part what I'm hearing you say it's also really having the conversation with women about what they need. Last question on this topic. Why is that difficult for the current leadership or for men? Let me put it that way, because I think there's a sort of barrier there. But what makes that a thing, even?
Yeah, I think especially when you look at platforms like LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
if you see the conversations around these kind of topics, you see that um, men are not real present there. And I had conversations a while back with several people and management m- guys, men in these cases, and they see these challenges as complaining, and they are not experiencing problems and challenges themselves. So there is no problem in their
But
opinion. Well,
but
there
but
is.
but what is that then? Is that a lack of empathy
The
or
tradition, I think, yeah, traditional leadership. When you look at most organizations, is just directive like we have always done.
Hmm,
Well, when you look at inclusive leadership, there's a humble role. You need to have this conversation with the people to understand them, to listen to them without bias. And I think that there is an enormous potential of growth for these kind of leaderships. And luckily, the younger generation is aware of that and is more focused on that way of leadership. But
yeah, I was
uh,
about to ask, is that a sort of problem that is sort of going away over time because the younger generation is indeed more aware that we need to change this narrative?
yeah, yes, it will eventually when people will retire. But these days, when people for leadership and management roles are hired, we always are looking for the best candidate. But the
Hmm.
best candidate, in my opinion, is the person that in most cases is identical to your personality, instead of on paper is real, contributing with diverse perspectives and etc.
Yeah, yeah, like attracts like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I want to switch a bit to back to belonging and also to leadership. Um, because we talked about belonging for a minute when we talked about events and really being part of the well, let's say of the team. Um, what makes this topic important to you personally?
Yeah, for me, belong is when I can just be without overthinking. I feel a little move, not having to scan the room or adjust my tone to make
Mhm,
sure I don't come across as too much.
mhm,
Most of my life was about fitting in, adapting, playing it safe.
mhm,
And belonging kind of flips that. It tells you you don't have to shapeshift to be accepted. You're allowed to take up space. And honestly, that's not just a nice feeling. It's the thing that makes it possible for me, but also others to grow because you can thrive when you're constantly trying to survive.
yeah. So describe maybe let's double click a bit on playing a role then. What can you describe what it meant for you to be in a position to yeah to have to scan a room to see if there were any allies with you, to see if there were any people who could be potentially hostile. What is that like?
Yeah, and that really started change happening when people within my organization I was working back then were aware of my situation and as transgender women. Um, and that is hard because it's real, for me, it's a real obstacle. You're far so away from your end results, you're hyper visible. And on the other hand, everyone is noticing, everyone is judging. You can see it in their eyes without them telling you they are. And
Hmm.
that is hard because you want to fit in. You want to not be um, there on your own. But on the other hand, you want to go through with your personal journey, and that's really important for me. If you look at my mental history of a couple of years ago, and that is troubling sometimes because I I made the choice to inform people as much as I can. Just I can start a new job. I can move for my living to another location. But in the end, I want to be in this world, real world, and not gathering with other trans people. And I think in the end, that helps because you're by being more vulnerable, open on these topics that most people are not familiar and talking about. I think this opens another layer of connection with the people around you. Yes, ultimately you will lose people on your journey when you choose yourself, and it's not the the role people expecting from you. You will lose people that don't feel connected to you anymore, and I think in the end that's hard, but it's also fine because the people that stay or are connecting with you actively are the people that see you instead of the role you're playing.
Yeah. So what does that do to your energy levels if you have to enter a room and scan?
It's real intense because on one hand you have your personal journey that
Yeah.
is already so overwhelming with all the mental support, the medical stuff, all the appointments with therapists, and it's real. It's almost ridiculous, and that is not just all because on you have also your career. People, I just was talking about people judging you, and it has some mental impact on you. And then you're also talking about all the impact that the medical, starting with hormones, has real impact on your body. In it's it's real overwhelming. And balancing all these challenges together,
Mhm.
it's
It's already hard, but then if people start judging you, I can
yeah.
imagine it becomes even like a double whammy.
Yeah, and I try to explain to some people that, I'm in my car driving to a following a road, a journey I'm on,
Uh-huh.
and on the back seat there are so many people close to you, people a bit farther away, and I need to really take care with throttling, braking, steering, because if I do it, I steer too hard, or I'm throttling massively, then people on the back seat, I will lose them. And it's also challenging because not all people are pointing the right in the same direction. The one wants you to move left, and the other one to the right. And how are you gonna navigate all these opinions and all these expectations while still being true to the journey you're on for yourself?
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you keep focus on yourself? Because I won't say I can imagine because I can't. Uh, I'll be honest. All those voices, all those influences from the back seat of the car, and you have to keep your own car on the on the road
Yeah,
and B on course to where you want to go. Do you have any things you do? You talked about
yeah,
therapy, but
it's real complex. Um, when I started, I wanted to just full throttle and
yeah.
go to the point where I wanted to be. But then I start noticing that the people around me that are really close to me,
Hmm.
and it was too fast because it has an enormous impact on them. They are losing someone in a certain way, mourning the person that is transitioning, more or less. And so we had so much conversations
Hmm.
privately
Hmm.
about things I wanted to do, but um, the people around me were not ready for.
Hmm. How did you
And
discover?
um,
Besides having those conversations, what did they
yeah,
say?
yeah. Sometimes it's the hard way that people are basically having this conversation and seeing a real hard conversation, crying, and that sometimes I take a certain decision, and then I see and notice that it's too fast for the people real close around me. Um, so it's, as I said, it's that sometimes the hard way, and that opens my eyes, hopefully. And I think in the end, it's resulted in that I am. It's the conversation allows me to throttle while also taking care of braking. So if I am on full throttle and the people around me are
On the
full
handbrake?
braking
Yeah.
and brake, that is real hard, and you will lose those people, and you need to adapt your personal life as well, because in some situations I cannot be that person and provide the things I
That
used to
they,
provide.
yeah.
Yeah, and you need to take certain decisions. How are you balancing and integrating new visions within your personal life, but also your corporate professional life?
Yeah. So I was wondering, because you're transitioning from a man to a woman.
Yeah.
Um, have you observed people behaving differently from
Um,
you seeing you as a man versus seeing you as a woman? Because
Yeah, absolutely. And before I transitioned, people rarely questioned my expertise. I assumed I knew what I was talking about,
Uh-huh.
but uh, during my transition, I'm still in it.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the exact same knowledge was met with doubt. People started interrupting me, explaining things back to me, things I built myself in some cases.
Oh,
It's real, yeah, it's to laugh about, but yeah, at first I was yeah, and at first I was trying to adjust. I tried sounding less emotional, more neutral, more acceptable, I guess. But it made me feel smaller, and honestly, it felt fake. And these days, I refuse to lead from a filtered version of myself. So now I speak up, not just for me, but to point out how much gender still impacts who we trust and whose voice we take seriously. And it's not only about me, it's about all voices in society. Um, uh, because if we want real change, we need to stop pretending this stuff isn't happening.
true. And to your point, the reason I was asking is I'm reading a book called The Authority Gap, which describes exactly this
Yeah.
behavior. Also, there I'm actually now in a chapter where the writer has interviewed a number of trans people, one going from men to transitioning from men to women, and another one back from women to men.
Okay.
And they describe exactly that same thing that you just described. Like for men, you hardly ever get judged or
Yeah.
challenged. And for women, all of a sudden you get interrupted and you get questions and you get less.
But yeah,
Uh,
but the interesting thing about that topic is that men and women are having certain challenges in society. For men, crying is not allowed. You have to basically get rid of your emotions in a certain way. And when I'm talking about these topics that things are changing because of how people are perceiving me, it gets reactions and people are, oh, is this really happening? But don't forget that cis men
mhm.
and cis women
Yeah.
are having these same issues during their whole lives. It's nothing new, but because I am talking about my lived experience, it's more credible in some way, and perhaps we should start listening to the people, not just trans people, but everyone about the challenges they're experiencing and do something with that instead of waiting to someone with more diverse perspectives shows the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think listening to each other is really important. To get more empathy and understanding, and also as a result, I think the culture within tech will become more
Yeah.
hospitable for outsiders, for let's say the non-Caucasian cis guys with a university degree. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
and you're not just checking this one box. We are all made of different aspects. The boxes we are always talking about, that the combination of them, everyone has a unique combination
yeah.
which has its challenges. And
Yeah, and that's one of the things I think that is often forgotten or overlooked, is that everyone is unique. Everyone has his own sort of operating manual, and
yeah,
for some people that is a bit longer, and for some that needs to be rewritten, and for some it's
yeah.
pretty straightforward.
And even if you can put two people in the exact same 20 boxes, for example,
Uh-huh.
they still have their personal preferences.
Yeah.
So, and then it's about, as we talked about, listening, trying to understand each other's needs.
Okay. Um, I want to switch back a bit to belonging and also to your own journey as a transgender woman in tech, because you're also going to talk about at least about playing roles in October at TEDx. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a bit more, tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, that's really interesting because I've been talking about a TED Talks. I'm trying to create a relation
Hmm.
between my personal journey as playing roles that I've experienced myself, as we just talked about. And on the other hand, we see that these days we have all those apps like Instagram, TikTok,
Hmm.
LinkedIn, yeah, call them, that are all basically you're rewarded based on algorithms.
Yeah.
So if you publish something and you get those likes, it's been viewed. It's really um, results in that people will do the things to get to these results again
Yeah.
and try to adapt their voice online
Hmm.
to get more rewarded because
Hmm.
of those likes and views, etc. And ultimately, that results in that you may be having an online persona, which in fact is completely different than the people behind the computer that is creating this
Hmm.
content. And then it might be real hard for you to step up in real life among people that see your content while this online identity of yours is not the people they're seeing in real life. So, and when you look at the numbers of younger people with anxiety and um, that's real troubling. And I wanted to make clear that when I was in the closet for a longer period, and this exact same thing called the digital closet is happening online for many people without noticing. And I think we should be more aware on the image we're creating online of ourselves to prevent, basically stepping into this pitfall. And it's interesting to say that when people create a selfie
Yeah.
just for short, for a quick publishing, but they're not making just one selfie. They're making 10 or way more. And how authentic is this, and which filter to use, etc. In this case, that's not authentic anymore because you're still subject of all the, in the end, algorithms and people online judging you in a certain way.
Yeah. How do we change that? How do we change? I mean, the algorithms are there, the rewards are there and real and are felt. Because I also look at, okay, I'm starting to get off AI as a help to write my copy.
Yeah, I think I try to explain to people that at first I think it's about the things you can do for yourself. It's auditing your online identity. Are you shaping your online presence with intention, or is it shaping you? You can just open your last 5 posts and what of yourself are missing. And
Hmm.
yeah, is this truly my voice or am I just playing a role? And on the other hand, try to ignore algorithm. Algorithms thrive on predictability. They favor what comfortably fits their mold. High performance doesn't necessarily mean authenticity. So reflect, are your choices online driven by what you want to express or by what the algorithm rewards? And the last one is just make intentional choices. Stay aware of a thin line between your curated persona, basically, and
Hmm.
your authentic self. Make choices about what you can share because it reflects you, not because it seeks validation.
Yeah,
I
and
think
also,
that are
but yeah, but also I think be mindful of what you share in terms of,
yeah.
okay, how does this add to my online persona, and how does it move away or actually keep me close to who I am?
Yeah, and just just get ask yourself this question: what is the small change you can make today to align your digital self closer
Yeah.
to your real self? Use technology intentionally to empower authenticity and not distort it.
I want to double click on one thing you just said because I found that really interesting. High performance is not necessarily authentic. often the same as authenticity.
Right.
Isn't that the whole problem here? That we don't associate high performance with being authentic?
Yeah, it is. And in some cases, authenticity can be high performance, but um, it's real hard. And not that long ago, I shared a real a post about my mental health state a couple of years ago. And these are the topics we normally not talk about online. It's not there. And and yes, these topics are rewarded because they're more authentic. And you can never say they're 100% authentic, but because it isn't in the end, it's always published in a certain way to get read and noticed. But these days we're just publishing. The most we're publishing is what we want the world to know and see of you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, instead of also showing that we are not only having great days, making results, and uh, the great event after the other one. We are also having our hard days, the days that we don't know. And if I can honestly say that I don't know, or that I'm having mental health issues, that allows someone else that is suffering from the same challenges
Uh-huh.
on their own. In most cases, they're just having this on their own.
Yeah.
Um, have perhaps are more capable of sharing their challenges as well. Um, Last week was real. I was at a conversation at Codem in Amsterdam in
Mm-hmm.
school for an Ask Me Anything session, and it was real great. And that was aimed at technology on one hand and gender on the other hand. But in the end, we dove into mental health, and I shared about my depression and about suicidal periods. And at the end, there was this one woman. She was in the corner of the room, and I saw on her face that there was something going on. She was real emotional, but she was on her own. No one was going to her. So I walked to her and just asked her, "Hey, do you want to have a hug?" And this person felt into my arms, embraced me, and like she would never let me go, and
Uh-huh.
was crying. We stood there for a couple of minutes. And then that's real impact on me personally,
Mm-hmm.
because I noticed that this person was going through this topic
Uh-huh.
on her own and doesn't feel the space to talk about it. Well, in the end, if people are in the situation, they need to deal this on their own. I think it's less likely they're gonna survive instead of when there are people around them to support them. So I think it's we need to normalize um, every part of our lives instead of just being this great online persona.
Yeah. And
Uh,
also, again, listen. And once in
listen,
every
dare
while
to ask. Yeah,
ask someone if she or he needs a hug.
yeah. Sometimes that's okay, and you don't have to say any word, but this connection
Mm-hmm.
between people. And I didn't know this lady before diving into the session, and that also helps that someone feels seen.
So why is it important to you to take this role, to be a role model?
Um, yeah, I think
Because you're standing in front of rooms, you're out in the open about your transition, your yeah.
I'm talking about several subjects, also about women in IT and my mental state and my transition and etc. Um, there are not that many people that dare to share these topics as I do, and sometimes it's real hard. It is, and I'm not per se doing this for my personal situation because I'm already gone through many of the things I challenged earlier. And I hope that in some way, because of my loud and I think, rebellious voice,
Mm-hmm.
some people see this and think, okay, I'm part of the things you're just talking about. And perhaps I can contribute in a way that I'm feeling comfortable with, that has way more impact on the people that are having these challenges that it has on me while helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about visibility in the end. And I'm also, in a certain way, it's hard to say about yourself, but a role model for people that are not capable or dare, as tough as me, while still going through the same topics I did.
Yeah. Does it help you also in going through your own process?
Yeah, good question. I think it does, because there are so many topics that people are absolutely not aware of that are really having impact on me, and many cases directly on the things I'm involved with. So it helps me if people understand better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that where certain things coming from. Why I'm it's not that's an issue anymore, but why I was every week having appointments, for example. If you are on working in an organization and your coworker is not there every week at a certain moment, you can have that. This can feed conversations. Well, those appointments may be legitimate. um, it helps if people understand how things are, so that you have a real conversation instead of she was not in the office again. And that's not helping for the culture.
Is it also about, maybe I'm phrasing this wrong way, but is it also about controlling your own narrative then?
It is. It is in a certain way, because if people understand better, um, I probably have more space to navigate my personal journey. Um, Yeah, it's a certain way. It's control of the narrative. We in the beginning of this conversation we talked about the the industry as a whole and the culture in there, and I think it's not helping for many people that are not checking these boxes of man, Caucasian, etc. Yeah, if I hope to just contribute to a change that hopefully is way bigger than I can imagine right now.
Yeah. So how does SheUnfolds fit into this? Because we talked about it earlier, and if I understand correctly, it's about creating events uh, that are not necessarily work. So not cyber
Yeah.
events for women, not cyber or IT events for women, but really something totally different, like the gala you organized.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because a lot of what I do actually come from things I wish I had myself.
Mm-hmm.
Together with Megan, I already referenced, I started the Women in IT Gala last March, and we organized this in 3.5 months. And we were just tired of feeling lonely, tired of being the only women in the room, and we didn't want another event with forced conversations, rehearsed pitches, name tags, etc. We just wanted to have this one night where you could show up and feel seen, where nobody asks you, "What do you do?" or but instead, "Hey, how are you?"
Mm-hmm.
Really, not performing, but just connecting. And that night happened, and it was incredible. The gala sold out in no time, and the energy in the room was absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And also was interesting to see that there were women from all stages in their careers, junior to director, and it was just generally connecting. Um, and from that feeling, basically, SheUnfolds was born, because we thought that one night isn't enough. We need something lasting. And with SheUnfolds, you're creating more of these moments, special, memorable gatherings that you genuinely look forward to.
Mhm.
Moments focused entirely on just being together, on feeling safe. Events that are bought, you don't want to miss because they fill you up and remind you why community matters. Um, and yes, we have already a plenty of technical communities, and those are great. But sometimes you just want to leave your expertise at the door, step into a space where you can slow down, connect, and just be yourself, not proving yourself.
Yeah. So actually creating the safe space that women need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
also be successful in tech or IT.
yeah, absolutely.
So let's double click on safe spaces. What do you consider a safe space? Like a place where you can be yourself, but can you define that a bit more?
Yeah, it's interesting to say. I think a safe space is about a room where you can show up 100% as your true self. And it's easy to say, but it's hard to realize.
Uh-huh.
I think the way to create a safe place is just by saying out loud what everyone else is thinking, but no one dares to say. And
Mm.
that I think applies to several topics I'm involved with. And sometimes that feels a bit uncomfortable, but usually if we're feeling uncomfortable, we're hitting something in the end, right? It's not about being provocative. It's just about opening the door to real connections, like we did with the gala, that you don't have to adapt, impress, or hold back. As I said, you can show up exactly as you are, and we're trying to create these safe spaces. And unfortunately for the men, it's also a place without men because honestly, in these cases, there's a different dynamic when women are together. A dynamic where all aspects of being a woman can be there freely. No filters, no adjusting, just real, open, and completely yourself. I think that's what safe spaces are mostly about.
Okay. So the one thing that makes me really curious because I'm oh, do you see that merge over time that men can start to enter that space?
Yeah, I think it will, or perhaps we can curate certain moments where men are allowed.
Quote
um,
unquote, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. It's not because we want to keep men back, keep them out of that, but we want to create this atmosphere of women connecting that isn't possible on the working floor. Well, it's we said that it's real masculine, and many women are struggling how to stay authentic to who you are,
Hmm.
while the culture is really asking you to adapt, and everyone wants to be seen and fit in the end. So, yes, perhaps we will at some moment, but for now, the main aim is to connect the women that are working in the industry in a new, bold manner.
Cool. So let's say I'm a forward thinking leader and I really want to create that inclusive atmosphere also on the work floor, not only by sending women to their separate events or their separate rooms, but really make it inclusive. What is one step I need to take? What is the first step I need to take to get there?
Yeah, so that's basically making inclusion more normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you want inclusion in tech to be more focused on all the people, we have to stop outsourcing the problem in the end to the people who are already underrepresented.
Hmm.
It's time to shift the weight. Um, and for me, I think the bold move in this case is tie inclusive outcomes to power and pay. Just need to stop treating inclusive leadership as a soft skill. It
Hmm.
should be a requirement. Don't reward leaders who get results if they do it at the cost of psychological safety, equal pay, or diverse team.
Mhm.
And definitely don't promote who can build inclusive cultures, no matter how strategic or technical they are. I personally think inclusion needs to be part of performance reviews. Why should we be looking who gets promoted, who's staying, who's burning out? And we need to have the guts to say, if you're not helping others grow, you don't grow here either.
No, not with a career and not with bonuses.
No, if we want to have change something, we need to make people accountable. And unfortunately, that means that people that have a certain way of acting and need to adapt as well, not just this underrepresented groups.
Okay. So I want to move forward to 2032 when this is all completely normal. What does She Unfolds look like then?
It's a great question. These initiatives in the end, if everything is as we hope society and the workplace
Hmm?
should look like,
Hmm?
there is no SheUnfolds because there is no need anymore for a certain initiative. Perhaps we can have great moments together,
Mhm.
but not with the initial thought of connecting people, but just having great events for men and women together, for
For people.
doing having fun
Yeah.
together without the pressure on changing problems we currently have.
Yeah. That sounds like a great place to close. Emily van Putten, thanks very much for the amazing interview. If people want to learn more about you and more about She Unfolds, where would you like to send them?
Personally, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I share a lot about all the topics we just talked about. And if you're curious about SheUnfolds, um, yeah, I, we're just building the community. And if you want to be part of it, get in contact with me, send me a message. Things
Okay.
have to be built. We need to volunteers to help us build it in the end.
Okay. Cool. So that's also your call to action then. If you want to help build the community,
Be part of it. You'll
be
have
part of
plenty of
it,
space. Yeah.
uh, reach out to Emily and we'll include the link to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And thanks for being an amazing guest and role model. And for the listeners, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, keep being awesome. Well, that's a wrap for episode 111 of Women Disrupting Tech with Emily van Putten on how She Unfolds creates the space where women in tech belong. Emily and I hope that you found our conversation as inspiring as we intended it to be. And if you have any questions for Emily or for me, please leave them in the comments on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. If you'd like to learn more about Emily and She Unfolds, please check out the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. The link is also in the description. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating or a review on Apple or Spotify. Leaving a rating or a review helps new listeners find the podcasts and supports my guests by giving them a bigger platform. When you're a regular listener, please follow the show on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. Following Women Disrupting Tech is a simple, zero cost way to support Emily and my other guests in making inclusion in tech the new normal by the end of 2032. You can also follow Women Disrupting Tech on social media. On LinkedIn, we're at The True Story Company, and on Instagram, Substack, and YouTube, we're at Women Disrupting Tech. On Substack, you'll find in-depth stories and behind-the-scenes insights from each episode, plus all the trends that I've spotted across 100 plus conversations so far. So don't forget to subscribe to my Substack for more Women Disrupting Tech. Finally, if you'd like to connect with me directly, please reach out via email dirkjan@womendisruptingtech.blog or connect with me on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, just search for my name and you'll find me. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. I hope to see you in the next episode. And until then, keep being awesome.